everybody. Welcome back to summer school. Thank you for tuning in again. My name is Amara Brady. I'm calling in from the land of the Lenape people, also known as Brooklyn, New York. And today I am here with Kevin R. Free. Kevin, can you tell the people a little bit about yourself?
Yeah. Hi, Amara. Thank you so much for having me at the summer school. Um, I am Kevin Arfree, as you said, and I am a multi hyphenate. I make my living as an actor and a director and a producer and an audiobook narrator. Um, I'm also a playwright, and I can sing sometimes. So that's who I am.
Well, that's great.
Yeah.
I guess I'm curious about like what this particular time period has meant to you as an artist? Like, what have you
Yeah.
been working on? Have you been working on anything creative, or are you like, I'm taking this moment as a pause?
um, a little bit of both. I'm taking it as a pause in that I am really thinking about how to change the ways that I have done business.
Mm-hmm.
Um, when the shutdown happened, I had some theater work planned and it was all canceled. And then when that was canceled, I reached out to audiobook publishers because I've been doing audiobooks for 20 years and said, hey, I've been in town, I'll be in town now. Do you have any work? And they all said yes. And then when they shut down all the studios in New York, one of the audiobook publishers sent an engineer or had an engineer call me to tell me how to set up a home studio. And so I've been thinking a lot about how in the showbiz we do a lot of asking people for things and people don't respond often. They just don't respond. And the way these publishers reached out to me or responded to me made me think, oh, wait a second. I've been in New York for 25 years. I make my living as an artist. Maybe I don't need to ask for anything anymore in the same way. I don't need to connect my asking and not winning or not getting the job or not getting a response. I don't need to connect that to results, or I don't need to judge things as bad or good based on whether someone has reached out to me. And so I've been spending a lot of time recording audiobooks, really wonderful audiobooks, and I've been doing a fair amount of writing, and I just started producing a show called The Reparation Show, which is a virtual variety show that features a different BIPOC host every week, and um, and it was a way for me and my co-creator to create a platform for Black and Indigenous people of color to talk about or perform or do whatever they wanted to do in a space. Um, and it is, I think, because I put myself on pause in the way that in that way that I mentioned at the beginning, to look back, but actually to look forward. This has the 4 weeks that we've been producing the reparation show have been the most thoughtful and productive of my life. And
Mm.
so I feel really, really grateful to be doing that show.
That's beautiful. That's really wonderful. I'm really curious that you talk about that because like I think a lot of us are having like this internal reckoning with the way that we have previously maneuvered in our field, and I'm curious if there was ever a moment where you were not completely aligned with like who you wanted to be artistically and what that shift was, because I think especially for a lot of BIPOC people, we're all like, I can't speak up for myself or I can't advocate for myself or my community because I will lose a career that I'm just now building. Did you have that moment early on or like later in your life at all?
Uh, well, I moved to New York 25 years ago and thought that I was going to be a musical comedy star. That's what I believed. And it didn't happen immediately because I don't know why people weren't giving me jobs. It doesn't matter. Um, but I started saying yes to doing all of the things that I do now, and learned that I was good at all of the things. Um, and so, and because all of those years that I thought that I was looking for fame, I realized maybe 15 or 20 years in that I was actually looking for community. And so I've been a producer of early career Black playwrights when I was the artistic director of the Fire This Time Festival for 5 years. And we won an Obie Award for that in 2015, the same year as Hamilton. Um, and so I've always been an advocate for myself and for the work of other um, Black and African American artists. And at the same time, I was reluctant to call out the people that I wanted to work with, but I never felt silenced. I think in our career, it's hard to tell if somebody's not choosing you because you're Black or somebody's not choosing you because you're not good. And so I'm still reluctant to talk about that. I can talk about experiences I've had. Once had a director make a reference to I had hair, make reference to my Velcro hair. Um, I can talk about specific microaggressions, but it is really difficult for. Hey, cat, stop that. My cat was scratching my chair. Um, but it's difficult for me to say that I just never spoke up for myself because of X, Y, or Z. And I also think to a certain extent, I felt like I had power because I was working with so many Black people and had always done that, even while I was trying to grab whatever the brass ring is in this biz. Even though I was trying to do that, because I didn't have the kind of career where things were just coming to me, I had to work really hard and always had to advocate for myself and rely on my representatives to advocate for me. So, yes, to a certain extent, I felt powerless. But when all of the protests started to happen in the theater, I, I thought, what is the thing that I can do to contribute to this conversation? And I realized I can continue to do the thing that I've always done, and that is create opportunities for my community. And that is what I did with the reparations show.
I think that's I think that's really beautiful and very
You're beautiful.
thank you. I don't know if the word is astute, but I think that's like brilliant because I think that that is the work that a lot of us have just been trying to figure out, like, is it okay if we're still making and not necessarily, attached to a particular petition to do X, Y, and Z. But it's just like, I think for me, being somebody who's like still very emergent, and is still working to build a career, it those things that are happening sometimes feel so out of my reach and out of my realm of like this. What do I care if XYZ theater is gonna change their policies? They weren't letting me in before anyway. Like, these things seem to only be able to like affect change for people who are already there. And I think that their hope is that eventually other people will come in, but eventually is a long time.
Well, I think that that's always the hope. I mean, right? Trickle down economics and capitalism is about how everybody is going to be better because other people get richer while the rest of us get poorer. But that doesn't necessarily work. What I'd say is, I'm not asking white people for a cookie. I'm not going to do that because I have an oven and I can bake my own. And I will also say that um, when we I support all of the protests and all of the movements because the movements are important, because equality is important. And at the same time, I want to say that by asking, quote, white American theaters for something, we are asking them for something that we don't think that we already have. And I say spiritually, I have that thing. I don't want, and they don't own it. They're not allowed to own it. So when the white American theaters are responding and saying, here's a thing that we're going to do, we're going to give you this thing, how long will it be before they take it back? Because they believe that they can give it. And so I am not asking in the same way that I did before. And so I will say this other thing to you, Amara. I said it to a young woman that I'm working with on the reparation show. And this is my advice to you and to all of the students in summer school, is that don't be afraid to take up space. The universe will accommodate you. It's just the way it has to be. You have to make the space and claim a space that is yours, and it can be similar to other people's spaces, and you can invite other people into it, and it's as much theirs as it is yours. Um, but that doesn't make it any less yours. And so this space for me, the theater space for me is the space that I walk into. It's my space, period. And uh, uh, I don't be afraid to take up space. I think I've said it, and I didn't want to.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think that I'm afraid. I think I feel like I have to fight a lot, and that makes me tired. Like, even walking into theater sometimes when, I don't know, older white patrons treat me like I don't belong there.
Yes.
Like, even in me just existing, sometimes it feels like a fight, and I'm just like, can I not? Can I rest today? In the words of the nap ministry, can I get a nap? Can I get a breath? And I think that, like, with all of the protests that are happening, or all of the protests within the theater specifically that are happening, my question is like the lack of nuance around the conversation of gatekeepers, because I'm like, everybody just wants to be a gatekeeper instead of thinking about the abolishment of gatekeepers, which I think is an important part that nobody wants to talk about. And the other part is like, I don't like the word inclusion, because inclusion implies a structure that already exists and is like owned by the people who are doing the including. So, like, how do we move away from that narrative? And what does the American theater even look like without gatekeepers? And what does it look like without us trying to include people who have formerly been excluded and maybe opening up the community to become something different than what it's already been?
I think, uh, oh gosh, so many things to say back to you in that, Amara. This is such a good conversation. First, last thing first, I think, is to say that the if you create a space and you put a gate on the property and leave the door open all the time, then everyone comes in through the gate uh, and um, you're not ever closing the gate unless someone comes in that is hurtful to you. Maybe. Theoretically, I think
I
that
feel like we have a gate, and there have been a lot of really terrible people in here who have not gotten blocked. And so I'm like, why don't we just take the gate down?
well, but I'm advocating for you to create a space and you build the kind of gate that you want on it, or no gate, is what I'm saying to you. And that's okay. Okay, you're like, no, hell no. Okay, so the
I
other
just
thing,
think that we've done a lot of excluding. Like,
yeah,
in the history of the American theater, when we talk about the history of this theater,
yeah,
specifically the like phase of it that we're in, it's like we literally rebuilt the theater so that people from different socioeconomic backgrounds and people with lower levels of education could not find a way in.
yeah.
And by doing that, we have done a disservice to ourselves and our entire community. And how do we undo that?
Well, I don't. I have to say that I, uh, I am actively trying to figure out a way to have a vision that allows everyone in. So, and at the same time, I can't know everybody, although I try. I really do try.
That's all you can do. Try.
um, I want to also address a couple of other things that you said. The word inclusion is, to me, better than the word diversity. And yes, I agree, we have to find another way, another kind of language. I mean, I think that all of the words and the structures that we have used for so long are tied up in white supremacy. And so when we dismantle those structures, it's important to build something new that is equitable, um, that is equitable, and so it will be natural. It would be natural inclusion, I think. So that, and then you said something else that I wanted to. fighting and wanting a nap. Yes, yes, yes. Yes. You have to take that nap. Um, I think what I have learned from this quarantine is that some of my fight was about let me in, notice me. Please, do you see me? Please, I'm here, right? And that took up so much space, so much energetic space in my life and career. And I don't think that I am up for that anymore. I think I'm awesome. That doesn't account for any of my insecurities, but I think I'm awesome. And there was a time when I thought, why don't you see I'm awesome? Why don't you see how great I am? Why don't you see how charming I am? Look at the way I match my glasses to my shirt. Look at how, you know what I mean? I used to be like all about that thing and please, please, please pay attention to me. And now, since the quarantine started, I don't care about that as much. I don't, I don't think I care about it at all. I, and so the fight the fight now is about if I had children, how would I create generational wealth? If I used to be concerned about my legacy, and my legacy was about ego, Kevin R. Free, how is the world going to know who Kevin R. Free is? But now I'm thinking that my legacy is about helping people who are younger than I to create their own spaces, or to know that they're allowed to create their own spaces, and that they're allowed to not participate in the wheel that we are. You know what I mean? So I think what I wish for you, Amara, is that I wish you health and wealth and happiness, and knowing that your fight is not not unnecessary, but that when you don't have to fight, understand that there are those of us, your uncles and aunties, who are fighting for you, who believe in you and want you to have the space that you deserve.
Thank you for that.
Yeah. Take that nap, honey. Take that nap.
I take a lot of naps. My fight is righteous, and so is my naps. Oh,
Same.
look, truly,
I feel seen.
I'm here for it. You are awesome. Thank you for matching your shirt to your glasses. Thank you for talking to me. Thank you for dropping some of your infinite wisdom in this space. To all the students, thank you for tuning in. I hope you got something out of this conversation. I hope you take these conversations to other spaces, and I hope you're well. Okay, bye, everybody.